It's commonly known that Sonic the Hedgehog is quite literally the biggest gaming franchise outside of Nintendo. In only a few days, the blue blur will be running for 30 whole years. With that, it's easy for anybody to assume that this fast-running blue hedgehog has had a bunch of games, and yeah, you're correct. But while Sonic the Hedgehog has always been on home consoles, that didn't stop him from adapting to other forms of gaming. Yup, I'm referring to arcade games. And despite the fact that they are Sonic's worst performing forms of gaming, there's still a handful of these Sonic arcade games, so much that it even earned him multiple appearances in 2 animated arcade films. So let's take a look at the world of Sonic the Hedgehog arcade games. Why? Well, I like talking about random things that not a single human cares about or even thought of. Yeah, that's actually the reason. So yeah, here's a complete history of officially licensed Sonic the Hedgehog arcade games. Also, I'll only be including the stuff that are video games because there's no way I will be making a 10-minute video about Sonic the Hedgehog air hockey. Our first ever Sonic the Hedgehog arcade game ironically doesn't even include Sonic. This game is called Flicky, and as you can imagine, the game is about Flickies. You know, the birds that get roboticized in almost all the Sonic games. Now you might be wondering why Sonic isn't in his first arcade game, and that's because this game was made before Sonic even existed. Yeah, I'm not kidding. This game was made all the way back in 1984 for the Sega System 1. That's years before Sega even made the concept art for Sonic's design. And given the fact that Flicky takes place in the same world as Sonic's, I think Flicky is technically the prequel to Sonic 1. This also makes Flicky the first ever appearance of the Sonic the Hedgehog world. So yeah, that's a pretty neat fact for you. Most people would tell you that Sonic started in 1990, but nope, the Sonic lore goes back to 1984. As for the actual game though, yeah, there's not a lot of things for me to say here. You play as a bird and the goal is to capture other birds. Isn't that just kidnapping? Wait, what? This game was weird. You're gonna be noticing that theme throughout this video. Unfortunately, this is the only Sonic arcade game that was published before Sonic's existence. So now we're gonna be jumping to these Sonic arcade games that were published after Sonic was born. During 1991, Sega AM1 was creating a line of children arcade vehicles that were based off of real jobs. This line was known as Waku Waku. During the development of the Waku Waku line, Sonic was very popular, so Sega decided to incorporate Sonic into their game, because, you know, more money. And what did they come up with? Sonic Waku Waku Patrol Car. This isn't even the weirdest game from this video. To play this, you would have to get inside this tiny police car. Once the coins are inserted, you are able to play as Sonic the Cop. In this 2-minute game, you make your way through traffic. But weirdly, Robotnik will eventually appear on the road and start throwing explosives at you. To beat the game, you would have to repeatedly jump onto Eggman's vehicle. After doing that enough times, Eggman's car hilariously explodes in the middle of the street, and Sonic gives you a rank on how well you did. Honestly, this game was alright. It was definitely not good, and it was for sure weird, but it was also strangely fascinating. Our next Sonic arcade game is actually an unreleased one. This is Sega Sonic Brothers. Developed by Sega AM3, this was originally planned to be released in 1992, but despite being finished, this game unfortunately never received an international or even a national release due to the machine not being very successful during its locations testing, and you can see why. This game was Match the Sonic 3 colors. Yeah, that's it, that's the game. Sonic the Hedgehog 1, a gaming classic. Next to Tetris and Pac-Man, Sonic 1 probably has the most amount of ports and re-releases for a singular video game. It's on your computer, phone, DS, Wii, PlayStation 5, browser, you name it. Sonic 1 is a game universally played by everyone. With that knowledge, it's not the most surprising thing to hear that Sonic 1 has an arcade adaptation. And guess what? It does. Sonic 1 Arcade was officially released in 1993 for the Sega Mega Play. However, there are some noticeable differences in the arcade version compared to the original Genesis version that I'll be discussing. The first difference is the absence of special stages. You just simply proceed to the next level no matter what. Speaking of the next level, that's the next difference, cut levels. All of Marble Zone, Labyrinth Zone, and Scrap Brain Act 3 are cut from the game. If I had to assume why, it's probably because these acts take a while to beat and could possibly be too difficult for casual players. Another difference is specific time limits to beat a certain act. If you don't beat the act in time, you lose a life, and that life is gone forever because in this version, it's impossible to gain any lives. You might think that these changes were harsh, but then again, they had to do what they could to make sure people weren't hogging up one machine for hours. And lastly, there's some small changes too, like the clouds in Green Hill are now moving and the cheat codes are disabled. And fun fact, this version of Sonic 1 is actually available if you own Sega Ages for the Nintendo Switch, which is honestly pretty cool. Okay, you've seen Sonic the Hedgehog 1 on an arcade system, so what could possibly be next? That's right, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, baby! Yeah, so Sonic the Hedgehog 2 also got an arcade port alongside Sonic 1, and it kind of makes sense. If you already ported the first game, then you might as well add in the sequel. But surprisingly, despite Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 arcade being for the same system, there's not as much differences, but we'll discuss the few differences anyways. Unlike Sonic 1 arcade, all the stages are here and there is no time limits. In fact, there isn't even time alone, it's completely gone from your HUD. However, there are some inherited differences, like the special stages are gone, gaining lives is still prevented, and using cheat codes is still gone. Honestly, I'm fine with this version, although I wish it did remove some zones like Sonic 1 arcade. I think this did a pretty good job on bringing Sonic 2 on arcade machines, because, well, there's 2-player versus mode, and you can't really go wrong with that, can ya? Other than that, the Mega Play version of Sonic 2 is pretty much the exact same as the original. I don't really need to give an in-depth review about this game. You know what Sonic 2 is, I know what Sonic 2 is, let's see what we got next. Oh no. Okay, so for those of you that are unaware, remember how we talked about Sega Sonic Brothers, the unreleased game? Notice how it has the word Sega Sonic in the title. And apparently, Sega Sonic was a brand in the 1990s. This brand would have things like exclusive art, plushies, and most importantly, video games, specifically arcade games. Almost all of these arcade games were released in 1993, and are what I argue to be the weirdest official Sonic games to ever exist. So I'm gonna be grouping all of these games into one and rush through them. Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighter. This is the sequel to Sonic Waku Waku Patrol that nobody asked for. This time, Sonic becomes an astronaut. I told you these games were weird. Sega Sonic Popcorn Shop. It's what the name says. You play a game, the game tells you to not do drugs, and Sonic gives you physical popcorn. That's actually a pretty good concept, but Sonic giving me a popcorn is the last thing I'd expect him to do. Sega Sonic Cotton Candy Maker. Now, there is a good chance that you never heard of this game or even seen it, and that's for good reason. That's because this game is what I argue to be the most obscure officially released Sonic game to exist. In fact, as of right now, no gameplay or even video footage of this exists whatsoever. No ROM, no nothing. Only 2 photos of this exist on the entire internet. From the looks of it, this would be a game where Sonic flies a plane and I think gives you popcorn. Sega Sonic the Hedgehog. Robotnik decided to build a soon-to-be exploding island that is designed to kill you. You play as Sonic, Ray, and Mighty. Your goal is to escape the island or else you die. Okay, that was the entire Sega Sonic trilogy. To put together everything we just saw, Sonic escapes Robotnik's island, he sells popcorn, and decides to go to space. Character development. Next up is Sonic Ride. This was planned to be released in 1994. Now, this isn't exactly a video game, it's an arcade ride, but how could I ignore this? The video that was supposed to play at the ride is hilariously bad. I mean, look at this. Robotnik dies. Enough said, let's move on. Our next Sonic game is the last one from the 1990s, and it's Sonic the Fighters from 1996. I personally think this game is great. I even made a video about it, but because I don't think you're gonna watch it, I'm gonna give you 2 briefly. Sonic the Fighters is a really fun and charming game that brings a lot of beloved things to the franchise. The controls and moveset is fun, and is overall a pretty good fighter. If you're a Sonic fan, then I recommend this game. The next Sonic game actually comes in 2011. You might be wondering why we just went from 1996 to 2011, and that's because Sega wasn't that successful in terms of money during the 2000s, so that meant they couldn't make arcade games for Sonic, which explains why we wouldn't get another arcade Sonic game until 15 years. Now, going back to what we were talking about before, the next Sonic arcade game was 2011's Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Arcade. In 2010, Sumo Digital already released the normal versions of Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, and the reception of the game was pretty positive. So, on May 2011, Sumo Digital released Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Arcade Edition. And can we just talk about how cool the machine looks? You have Sonic, Amigo, and Ai looking down on you with a translucent seat that has lights inside. That is cool. But to my surprise, I couldn't find that much information about the game itself. To my knowledge, the only main features here are that a couple of the tracks are moved, and you're able to play with up to 8 nearby arcade machines at once. Other than that, it seems to be the same as the original, except with cut content and lowered graphics. You know something I'm noticing? Almost all of these Sonic arcade games we've covered so far aren't even that similar to actual Sonic gameplay that you'd expect. I mean, sure, there was the 2D platformers, but what about the 3D? Everything here so far has just been other genres that just aren't Sonic. Let's see what we got next. I mean, at least he's not in a car this time. Sonic Athletics. You probably never heard of this game, and neither have I. Sonic Athletics was released in April 2013. The reason why you probably don't know about this is because this game was only for one place, and that's Sega Tokyo Joy Palace. In this game, you compete against up to 8 different players in a race. Now you might be wondering how you even play this game if there's no buttons, and apparently you control this game with your real life speed. The game uses a treadmill to function, so your speed in real life corresponds to the character's speed in the game, which is kind of a dumb yet cool idea. I suppose this game is somewhat Sonic-y, but let's just hope that the next game is true Sonic. I want to see 3D running, jumping bosses, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, now here's something that's actually pretty good. This is Sonic Dash Extreme, based off of the famous mobile game Sonic Dash. Known as Sonic Dash Extreme, the Sonic Dash arcade version actually includes a handful of features that make some people say that this is better than the original. There is no in-game purchases, the game runs on a higher resolution, you unlock 9 characters from the start, there is a leaderboard, and you can choose your own zone as well as the difficulty. This is just basically the original, except without the annoying stuff, which makes me love the arcade version. And also, can we just talk about the design of this machine? It's so modern, futuristic, and pops out really well. Okay, now we move on to our last 2 Sonic the Hedgehog arcade games. One is published in 2016, and the last one in 2020. What are they? Sonic and Mario at the Rio Olympics, and Sonic Mario at the Tokyo Olympics. These 2 arcade versions are very similar in terms of differences compared to the original versions. The arcade editions function the same way as they do in the original versions, only differences here is the obvious fact that the arcade editions have a lot more cut content and the different controls. So these games just served as a demo for the full complete original versions, which is expected for a game that is on consoles and arcades. The arcade editions have really awesome machine designs too. I mean, look at that. You have Sonic on one side and Mario on the other. It just looks so cool. So there you go, that is all the Sonic the Hedgehog arcade video games in one video. Taking a look at all of these was really fascinating, and I truly hope you enjoyed. I didn't even know half of these existed, and there's a good chance that you didn't either. Anyways, that's about it. This video is pretty pointless, and all these games suck.